We met in January of 2006, and actually it was kind of a unique time for me personally because I was not publicly out yet, and I was working as a police officer in New Hampshire, which has its own very sort of interesting societal situation. And I had a really good friend who was also my police sergeant who said, I've got this good friend who works at Plymouth State, and she's got this guy who she's working with who's really nice, and I think you should meet him. And I said, oh, yeah, maybe sometime. I don't know if I'm quite ready for that. And it was a good 6 to 8 months of getting, constant jabs about, needing to meet this guy. And finally I got scammed into going to a football playoff party on January 22nd. And I was supposed to be totally relaxed. Everybody's in their pajamas. It's chili and beer and cornbread and anything that you really want to bring. And I was running about 25 minutes late, so they called and asked where I was, and I could hear a guy in the background. And I knew that he was there, so I went back to my apartment, and I got cleaned all up and shaved and, put on all my cologne and and went to this lesbian football party. And I walked through the door, and Matt was sitting there at the table, and that was really our first kind of interaction. And what was always described to me as this guy who's kind of cute ended up actually being all right.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And then you have to tell them about the cornbread. I think it's very important.
Yeah.
Story.
So, of course, it's mid-January in rural New Hampshire, and it's snowing. It's like we have blizzard warnings, and the power goes out like halfway through the game. And so, of course, all of our lesbian friends are up in arms because they really want to know what's going on in the game. And meanwhile, Matt and I are just getting to know each other, and are having happy conversation by the fire. And so they all decide to load up into somebody's truck and go to the neighbor's house where they have power. And we go to climb into this, big four-wheel drive truck. And I have my hands full of the cornbread that I had made, and Matt had already climbed up in. And I just said, would you hold my cornbread? And that was it. He agreed to hold my cornbread, and it was love after that point.
Sealed the deal.
Yeah. It was definitely like, I'm a single gay man in rural New Hampshire, and there's this attractive guy, and he's a single gay man in rural New Hampshire, and so I think over time we really got to know each other and realized that we had a lot in common. And I don't know necessarily I'd call it love at first sight, but it was definitely certain interests at first sight.
And definitely like a sexual attraction. He had that piece at least.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right. And I think the few times I was really ready, I will say I enjoyed my college life, getting to know my body and my sexual desires. Also into grad school, and I had just come out of a long-term relationship that ended after 3.5 years, and that really took a toll on me. So I again had spent a year just finding out who I was, and became really good friends with our friend that introduced us. And so I really was all about taking it slow this time. And so I said also, I really want to take this slow. Like, sex is important to me, but I really want to go slowly with this. Because, again, my friends always said, if this is meant to be, that will come naturally. You don't have to push it. And so I kind of put that out there. And then I also put which a lot of gay men in our community, and less so now, but back 11 years ago, were very scared about marriage and kids. And growing up my whole life as I was battling with this, I thought it was very important that because I was gay, I don't want to change what I should be allowed to have. So I wanted to make sure Noah was okay with getting married, and trying to assimilate the best we can and just being normal, and also having kids. And he seemed very open to it. So again, that I think helped at least my moving forward in it.
Yeah. And Matt was my first serious boyfriend ever. I mean, I was in the closet dating women forever, essentially, and so this was all new to me as well, and it just, it worked. It felt right. And as far as the engagement goes, that was, as we were talking earlier, it was made very clear from the get-go that if things were to progress, I was going to be the one who asked. There was no question about that. And over time, things evolved, and we became more serious, and I moved in with Matt, and I think we definitely felt ourselves going in that direction of wanting to make a lifetime commitment to one another. And so I don't even know what year it was. It was a couple years after we were dating.
Well, it was for my, are you talking about our engagement trip?
Yeah.
Well, it was my 30th birthday.
Oh, geez.
So,
Was that 2010?
yeah, 2010. We decided to take our friends with us on a cruise because I wanted to do something fun for turning 30. And so I dropped some severe hints saying this would be a beautiful time to get a ring. I'm just saying.
No shame.
No shame.
No shame.
But I also told him, I said, I don't need to be having like a 10-carat ring, holding my hand down because I am a man and I don't know if I would wear my wedding ring and an engagement ring. I just want something that, speaks to my heart and shows me that I am getting married. So I dropped some really strong hints. And then we went on a cruise with our friends, and Noah shared with me that he had, our friends smuggle the ring on the ship, so I wasn't like paying attention to finances. Our friend actually purchased the ring, so I didn't notice anything. And so they smuggled the ring on the ship, so I didn't notice. And then every day when we were on the cruise ship, I was kind of excited, being like, "Oh, is he gonna ask me to get married?" And we would go to this, Tortola, and we'd go out on a boat to this beautiful beach, and it was just really funny, and nothing happened every day. I'm like, oh my gosh, like this is driving me nuts.
And meanwhile, I'm particularly OCD and wanted it to be perfect. It needed to be exactly right, and I was waiting for that perfect moment, and I'll be damned. I mean, it just never happened. I couldn't find the right time, and even when I tried to make it perfect, it just wasn't happening. And so I was running out of days and options.
And you love being, he's a very private person, which is we complement each other. I'm very social. So he needed to find a place that was very secluded. So I think it's really funny. We were on this beautiful beach, and we said, oh, let's crack open a beer and just relax and enjoy this beautiful thing. And he's like, let's go all the way down there, because there was like 6 other people around us. And so we walked all the way down the mile, and all of a sudden it smelled like dead carcasses. There was dead seals and fish and everything all around us. So it kind of killed the meal, the
atmosphere, yes,
for that. So we ended up. That's probably why I didn't get it that night.
Right. So it was the last day of the cruise. We got back on the ship, and I turned the ring back over to our mule, Sean, who got it on board, and he kept it in his safe overnight so Matt wouldn't discover it. And that night at dinner, Matt was dropping again some pretty strong hints, and I think he was getting frustrated, thinking like, "Oh, it's just not going to happen." And so I asked Sean to go back to the room and get the ring, and I had them cork our bottle of wine from dinner, and we went up to the top deck of the cruise ship, and nobody was there.
It was beautiful. It was
dead quiet, and there were 2 perfectly aligned, beach chairs out on the front of the deck. So we went down and were enjoying some wine, and it took me about 40 minutes to finally get the courage up to get down on one knee and ask him, and I did. And then there was thunderous applause, and there was like a ton of people on the deck right above us that we didn't even realize were there, and they watched the whole thing. And here I was trying to be all private, but yeah, it was a nice time.
It was beautiful. I was really excited. I could tell all of a sudden in that 40 minutes, I was like, he was acting really strange, and he was just talking about the same things over and over. So it was getting me really excited. And he actually did work his way down and get on one knee, and that was really adorable. Because I knew he was out of his comfort zone, which made it special for me, because I knew he knew it would make me happy. And so it was special.
Yeah.
Well, I can tell you it was important for us, because Noah had asked me to get married a few years before. His engagement was about 2 years long. He asked me before it was legal in Connecticut. It was, civil unions were allowed in both states, but I really wanted to wait until it was official marriage. And a lot of our friends didn't understand the difference, but now that they understand that there's like 1,100 rights that are afforded to legally married people that aren't allowed to civil unions, it was important to us. Filing dummy federal tax returns just so you could file joint state ones, it was a little ridiculous. So we were waiting for that, at least Connecticut state marriage to happen. And once that happened, then we said, all right, let's still go back up to New Hampshire and get married, because that was where we met. But we wanted to make sure we were recognized officially in Connecticut. we both knew we wanted to have a family, and so we were pursuing all options. And we were very vocal with our friends and family that we wanted to pursue a family. And so we were telling people we're considering adoption. And we had a really close friend. We hung out with the game nights monthly. And she threw out there, "Oh my gosh, son, I would always be willing to be a surrogate. I always thought that would be such a cool idea." And we thought that was really funny, but we laughed it off because it's really uncomfortable to. We've thought in the past, like, who would be willing to really carry someone? Maybe it's a lot. It's a lot
big,
for 9
big
months.
commitment.
Big commitment. And we just know how attached we get to our dogs at this point. That's all we had. We were dads to dogs. And we had just recently put our dog down, and I thought we were never recovering. And that's an animal. So I just can't imagine a human being. So we went back after the game night, and I said, "Noah, do you think she was serious?" And he goes, "I don't know. That's, maybe she was just joking." So I said, "Well, why don't we message her? This could be." So we decided to Facebook message her instead of call her or ask her in person because I didn't want to embarrass her, and I wanted her to have an easy way out of that if it was meant to be a joke. So we messaged her, said, "Did you mean this as a joke? If so, it's funny because, we understand that it isn't easy. But if it is, let's talk about it." And literally, I think it came back within 2 minutes, said, "Yep, I already talked to my husband. We are ready for this journey. And just so you know, I already filled out a pre-screening form at Connecticut Fertility, and it says I'm approved to be a surrogate. Here's the copy." So we were like, "Whoa, okay." So we decided to make a breakfast meeting. 2 weeks later, we got together for breakfast, planned it out, and she was on board. And it was really nice because we reached out to my sister-in-law, Noah's sister, to be involved with the process. Because with Noah's bleeding disease, we kind of really navigated that. We would use my sperm and his sister's eggs. She was so excited to be a part of that process. She started crying at breakfast when Noah asked her. It almost looked like, it was the engagement time because he was so nervous to ask. And she was like, "Why are you so nervous? Yes, I'm going to do it. Yes, yes, yes." She started screaming in the middle of the restaurant, crying. And so then we're like, okay, her eggs, my sperm, and then Angela would be the womb. We tried that a few times. And again, you're spending a lot of money. IVF, it's great that people do it, but I think they also might abuse the process, knowing that they can make money. So I think there's always extra fees that are put on there. So it is sad, but we knew we were ready for it. So we took out loans, we took out maxed out all of our credit cards, and the IVFs didn't work. We tried them twice, which was sad. We put in 2 solid embryos both times. Angela said, "I'm willing to carry twins, but this is the last time I'm carrying. I'm not trying to carry, 50 kids for people." But, so we tried for twins. Neither of the times worked, which in hindsight is okay. Our dear friend has twins, and now we witness it, and we're like, we probably would have gray hair a little sooner, even though you do have some now. But
This is true.
But so that worked out. We believe God had a plan, and it worked out the way it did. So, Angela found out after the second time that we were told no by the doctor. And you have to go into the clinic for testing for this. It's not really done at home. So we all went all the way in, and we got the sad news. And Angela stayed in and talked to the doctor. And all of a sudden, the doctor came out and told Noah and I think you should come in here. And so we walked in. Angela was crying. He even looked a little emotional. And he goes, "I think Angela has something she wants to say to you." And so she looked at us. She goes, "You spend enough money with this. You need to have a baby. And I'm willing to be a traditional surrogate. Let's use my egg. Let's get started. Artificial insemination. Let's go." And I said, "Are you sure?" And she goes, "Yep, I already called John. He's on board," which was her husband. And we just got emotional. And we said, "If you're sure, then we're willing to do it." And so it's been great. It's been great. It was a great process. She's such a special person in our life.
You went to every appointment?
Every appointment together, every, ultrasound. And she's a part of our life. She's Auntie Ange. Kellen our daughter knows her as Auntie Ange. We go to birthdays. She comes our birthday. She comes our Christmas events because we wanted to maintain what we already had. It doesn't make it awkward. And she actually says the way she navigated through this in her life, every day she carried it, she recognized that was our kid. So that helped her. So when she sees Kellen with us, she said her heart explodes. So it made it easy with the second process. We found a new surrogate. This time we were able to save money on the medical side, and now we're actually having to pay a surrogate. So it's frustrating sometimes starting when you're a gay couple. You have to kind of start in the hole, paying a lot of this money, but when it's worth it for you, you just are willing to make it work.
As Matt said, I think we agreed early on that we wanted to have a family, and it was important. I'm one of 6 children, and so I grew up in a very loud, boisterous household. And I know Matt came from a smaller family, but realized the importance of that close knit bond, between siblings. And we were exploring many options as to what we were going to do to have children. And a good friend, came forward and offered to carry a baby for us, which was incredibly kind and changed our lives for the better. And 3 years ago, we welcomed our baby daughter, Kellen, into the world, and things have not been the same since. Very positive, and then we're working on our second right now, who's almost halfway through, the baking cycle.
Yeah, we're 20 weeks next week, which
Yeah.
we're very excited about. And we chose gender neutral names for Kellen and for our new baby. Kellen was going to be AN for a boy and YN. Our good friend Alex, she was the only one that knew her name. And we're like, oh, we think we found one for a boy, but we're really trying to find one that's really solid gender neutral. And she's like, why can't Kellen be for both? And we both went, you're right. And
Yeah.
so we were really excited once we nailed that name down.
Yeah, and it's important to us as well. We want our children to feel comfortable, in their own flesh and with their own name, and to feel as if they're not being sort of pigeonholed by us. We grew up in families where I think it took some time, maybe in some circumstances, for them to come around, but we want our children to feel that they can be whomever they want to be, and that's okay. So we're trying to keep their names as open and malleable as possible.
No, she starts official preschool in August. She's been in daycares since 6 weeks, which was sad. And again, we're still in a growing world. At our current institutions, we were not given any paid family leave. We were offered FMLA unpaid, which we couldn't afford. It's great to be able to stay home unpaid, but we're starting a family, $80,000 in debt when a lot of people can have families for free and just paying medical bills. So you put that in mind. You're like, you need to be able to work. So it was important to us. So we actually used all our vacation time up in order to be able to stay home, because kids can't start daycare legally in Connecticut until 6 weeks. Mm-hmm. And then all of our friends at our school that we work at marched into our offices donating vacation days, because they said it's important for us. So again, our friends, including our dear friend Alex, just led the charge to say, this isn't right. We're going to do what we can to still show our support. And so because of folks like them, we were able to make it to 6 weeks and spend the time with our daughter. But I have to say, at least with my end, we were nervous. I have to say, I pushed really hard as being an out gay man through college. I just wanted to be loud and proud. But now I'm kind of at a point where I'm letting the younger generation kind of take over. I want to live a stable life. I'm exhausted. So I didn't want to kind of keep re-outing now being two-dad family, even though I know I'm willing to do it. But I'll have to say it's been fantastic.
Yeah.
Our schools have been overly accepted. Once in a while you get a look at restaurants, but less so when we're in our area. When we're traveling, it's more noticeable. But even my supervisor, who used to be very conservative and religious, but she's just had such a great journey in her life. She's like, who cares what others think? This is your family. You do what you need to do for your family. You make your own journey. And that really resonated with me, and I share that with us. And so we're kind of like our own bubble. And our kids, we know, might have challenges someday, even though they were less and less with our world. But again, if they have the tools to navigate that and know that they're loved at home, I think that's the first thing to help them with it. If you're loved at home, you can talk about it with us, and just as long as I don't go in, waving my hand at somebody and embarrassing them in elementary school, I think they'll be okay. So I just want them to know that they're special.
Yeah. We also, we're pretty selective. The process of finding a daycare was, also about cost, but it was a bit about what kind of environment is our child going to be in. And, I think Matt specifically was really careful about making sure that it was an okay environment and that folks were going to be as accepting as we could possibly ensure. Obviously you can't make it perfect. One really important thing that I just want to say is that in our household, we live on the mantra of be kind. And we're raising what will be two children, I think, in that mentality that a lot of the world is unkind. And you might face some of that during your life, but if you can manage to just be kind and, withstand it and take the high road, things are going to be just fine.
And I will say, just for note, because we did mention our institution a few times, we love where we work, and we've grown to really love our community and our students that we interact with. So many of them have met our daughter and love our story. But I will say, I do believe things are changing at our institution, and I think we will see, because they know our struggles and they know parents that are adopting their struggles with family leave, I think we might see some changes relatively soon.
Mm-hmm.
Because if we want to really support family friendly, we really need to support all of our team together. So I think it'll be exciting to be part of that journey and know, wow, maybe we aren't as invisible anymore and people are listening.